What's going on, everybody? How are you doing? Happy Sunday. What a weekend of weather. Down in Texas, been snowed in all weekend, so stay safe out there. But I wanted to bring you guys another episode of Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Whether we're in the office or in the studio, we're bringing you content. So if you want to support the show, hit that subscribe button. We're like 10 subs away, literally, from 156,000 subscribers. So if you want to be number 156,000, you could be that person. All you got to do is subscribe and support. So on today's show, we are going to cover the latest Bears news and rumors. Bears being linked to a free agent running back. We'll get into that in a second. Plus, the Packers have hired a defensive coordinator, and it's not Al Harris. So we'll discuss that, plus the latest on both that situation and the Bears defensive backs coach. But let's talk about Travis Etienne. So Tony Pauline, who, full disclosure, is, I would say his hit rate's relatively low, but he's covered the NFL for a long time. And, you know, it's late January. It's rumor season. And I think this is an interesting rumor, if nothing else. He says the Bears are expected to target Travis Etienne in NFL free agency, pointing to the fact that if Chicago wants to, they could cut DeAndre Swift, which if you watched our video earlier today, the Bears could do that with a pretty minimal penalty. His cap hits $8.8 million for next year. If they cut him, they save $7.5, would only eat $1.3 million in dead cap money. But like the point I made on that video, I'll make the point here. I think DeAndre Swift, for what he did this year, is worth an $8.8 million cap hit for 2026. That's not too large of a number for a guy who rushed for over 1,000 yards. And that doesn't mean if you're Ben Johnson, Ryan Poles, you can't look to upgrade the running back position or any position. But at the same time, is Travis Etienne a clear upgrade over DeAndre Swift? I would make the argument that he is not, based on what we have seen. Now, let's get to what Pauline said first, and then we'll look at some numbers comparing the two backs. He says, league insiders have long believed that the Bears will be suitors for Etienne if he hits free agency. This is despite having a solid 1-2 punch with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. He makes the point that they could cut Swift. And then he says, quote, while some see Etienne for Swift as an even swap, sources say the Jags running back is a better fit for Liam Cohen, as he's a much better pass-catching threat. I would say he's a marginally better pass-catching threat. He did have 6 receiving touchdowns this year, but let's just go through some numbers. Let's just compare Travis Etienne and DeAndre Swift, and let's see what the numbers say this year, because both have, you know, smart offensive-minded coaches, both scheme well. Running backs should do well in both schemes. Okay, Travis Etienne this year, 260 carries, 1,107 yards, 7 touchdowns rushing, average 4.3 yards per carry, caught 36 passes for 292 yards, 8.1 average, did have 6 receiving touchdowns. So total yardage, just over 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns, 4.3 yards per carry, 8.1 yards per catch. Really good season. Travis Etienne had a nice year. Let's compare that to DeAndre Swift. 223 yards, 223 carries, 1,087 yards rushing, 9 rushing touchdowns. He had 34 catches, 299 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. So he had 8.8 yards per catch, 4.9 yards per carry. So more efficient both in the running game and in the passing game. The only difference is Etienne had more receiving touchdowns. Swift had more rushing touchdowns. I would make the strong argument that Swift had the more efficient and better season. Now, if you want to say, well, what about age? Swift has played in the NFL for 6 years. Etienne has played for 4. DeAndre Swift turned 27 years old 2 weeks ago, January 14th, not even 2 weeks ago. Any guesses on how old Travis Etienne is? He turns 27 in 2 days, January 26th. 1 day, tomorrow, he turns 27. So they are the same age. Now, Etienne has 2 less NFL seasons on his body, but let's take a look at total touches. Travis Etienne has 897 carries. Swift has 1,069. Etienne has 168 catches. Swift has 271. So Swift has about a year and a half more of touches on his body in the NFL, and that matters. That adds up over time. But if you're going to sign Travis Etienne, you're going to have to sign him to a multi-year contract, and you save $7.5 million by cutting Swift. I think it's going to cost at least that much to pay Etienne on a multi-year deal. I would rather keep Swift for $8.8 million this year, pair him with Monangai. We know that pairing works. And then after next year, you draft another running back or you pair Monangai with someone else, whether it's a free agent or whatever. I don't think there's that big of a difference between DeAndre Swift and Travis Etienne. And in some ways, Swift was better this year, and he already knows the offense. Like, I don't think this makes sense whatsoever. It'd be one thing if Etienne was 2.5 years younger and he was more efficient this year. Like, it's just not the case. I mean, let's look at career numbers. Travis Etienne, yards per carry for his career, 4.2. DeAndre Swift, yards per carry for his career, 4.6. Like, it's just, there's nothing you can point to that would suggest for next season Etienne's the better player, and or even long term. Again, they're the same age. He has a little less mileage than Swift, but not enough to panic cut Swift and sign Travis Etienne. So for me, this is a non-starter. Now, if you told me Travis Etienne, you could get him for 2 years and $8 million, $4 million per year, okay, but that's not going to happen. He's going to get a decent payday. I would say anywhere from, I don't know, $8 to $12 million per year on at least a 2-year contract would be my guess. Like, he had a really good year. He's going to cash in. So the bottom line is the Bears have bigger needs than going from DeAndre Swift to Travis Etienne. It doesn't mean they can't explore options out there. If they're looking to upgrade the running back position, you should always look to upgrade any position, but defensive line, linebacker, secondary, left tackle, I don't even know if there's really an argument to be had that Travis Etienne is clearly better than DeAndre Swift. And considering the money, when at best you're probably breaking even if you make this move, I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. All right, we have more to discuss. Packers hire a defensive coordinator, plus what's going on with Al Harris. We'll dive into all of that. But today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is just right around the corner, it also means it's your last chance to get in on all of the football action before next season. So close the season out right with PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. Awesome new feature with PrizePicks, early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a fast start, they'll send you an alert saying, hey, you want to cash out early? And if you want to mitigate your risk, you can do just that. The way PrizePicks works is simple. You pick more or less on stat projections for different players. All sports available. Take more or less. If you hit, you win money. For example, I have in this game currently going on, Matthew Stafford more than 35.5 pass attempts, and I have, Sam Darnold more than 7.5 rushing yards. We'll see if that hits. $20 lineup to win $60. Just one example of what a PrizePicks lineup looks like. Check out PrizePicks today. Download the PrizePicks app. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS. To get $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. Jonathan Gannon is the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. There had been a lot of Jim Leonhard buzz. There wasn't a lot of Al Harris buzz here. He did interview, but you didn't really hear much after that. So they're going to go with Gannon. He was the Eagles defensive coordinator the first time they went to the Super Bowl in 2022. Then he got the Cardinals head coaching job, and this year it completely fell apart. So they moved quickly to replace Jeff Hafley. Now, I thought Jim Leonhard might be the guy here, and considering the Broncos just lost, did the Packers kind of rush this? I don't know. I mean, Gannon's proven as a DC, but it's also kind of like how high is the ceiling there? Now, if you want to go conspiracy theory, did Matt LaFleur hire someone that's really no threat to replace him as head coach, where it felt like maybe Jeff Hafley was? I don't really believe that, but one could talk themselves into that because there's no world where they would get rid of Matt LaFleur if things go poorly and promote Jonathan Gannon. That's certainly not something that would happen. So, look, Gannon's a good coach, but this doesn't move me. I'm not concerned that all of a sudden the Packers have gone from Jonathan Gannon to Jeff Halfley. Kind of a lateral move. I don't think it's necessarily like some huge downgrade, but I also don't think it's an upgrade where Jim Leonard, who I think is a really smart defensive mind, could have been. Now, he hasn't been a defensive play caller in the NFL either in a while or ever. He obviously was the Wisconsin defensive coordinator for a long time, but people are really high on him as a coach. And so I don't mind that the Packers land a retread here to be their defensive coordinator. So we'll see how that goes for them. But I'll put it this way. I'm way more concerned going up against Brian Flores, who's back in Minnesota, than Jonathan Gannon in Green Bay. Okay, so what is the latest on Al Harris then? Because the Packers interviewed him. The Commanders requested to interview. I think that interview has happened, but if not, it should this week. The Titans interviewed him on Saturday. We discussed that a couple days ago, that that job isn't super appealing in my opinion because Robert Saleh has already said he's going to call plays. Now, if they double his salary and he gets a defensive coordinator title, sure. But like if you're Al Harris, like if I'm the Bears and that's their offer, I'd at least come close to matching that if I was Chicago. Now, I don't know what their coaching staff budget is, but with what they paid Ben Johnson, clearly they're willing to spend more in the past. We'll see. I don't view Tennessee as a huge threat to get Al Harris. Washington's interesting because he worked with Dan Quinn in Dallas. I think Pittsburgh becomes the team to watch here because Mike McCarthy was the head coach in Dallas when Al Harris was there for all of those years. And then when he got let go this past year, Harris freed up and the Bears hired him. I think that's a team to watch. For Al Harris, there's a relationship in place there. He'd get to call the plays, and obviously Pittsburgh's a storied franchise. You know, leaving for Tennessee to be a non-play calling DC, I don't really get that move if you're Al Harris, but going to Pittsburgh to call plays, that's a pretty appealing destination, right? They have a lot of high-priced players on that side of the ball. If it goes well, he could be on a fast track to be a head coach. So I think Pittsburgh becomes the job to watch. Obviously, Washington will be interesting. They don't have a lot to work with on that side of the ball right now, but the relationship with Dan Quinn certainly plays a factor there. So that would be one you would at least have to be a little bit concerned about when it comes to Al Harris potentially landing one of these jobs. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. Happy Sunday, everybody. I'll probably be in my home office tomorrow, too, filming content. So I'm not sure if we'll go live tomorrow. We probably won't, if I'm being completely honest, but we'll see what happens. We'll have videos up on the channel regardless. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and as always, bear down, everybody.